So you should be streaming.
Yeah, it says setting up your webinar for custom stream server under Zoom. It's still scrolling. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's.
Yeah, it shows up on my screen that it's streaming live on custom live streaming service.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I checked on the back end. It's receiving your video. You should be good.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrew.
All right, no problem.
So now I'm not hearing Erica. Erica,
You can't hear me?
Oh gosh.
Is that better? Can y'all hear me?
Well, your lips aren't moving, but I can hear you.
I can
It's like
hear
a delayed
Erica.
video or something.
Okay.
Let me grab somebody real quick.
I can hear you.
All right, I think we're good to go.
Okay.
Yeah, now I'm hearing you and your mouth's moving at the same time.
Maybe the screen doesn't want to see me today, which probably isn't a bad thing. But good evening and welcome to the November 15th, 2021 meeting of the City of Charleston's Design Review Board. My name is Erica Chase, the board's chairperson. The members of the board with us tonight are Dinos Leolio, Aaron Stevens, Andy Smith, Stephanie Tillerson, and Ben Whitener. The members of city staff with us this evening are David Meeks, Allison Hill DeLong, Andrea DeRungs. With regards to recusals, Aaron Stevens is recused from agenda item number 1, and we do not have any agenda items that have been deferred. I'll run through quickly the order of the meeting. I'm going to skip over anything that is relevant to public comments. We do not have any members of the public registered to speak, nor did we receive any emails or letters from members of the public. But the order of the meeting will be as follows. David will give an introduction or project context overview for any new projects. The applicant team will then have 10 minutes for the project presentation. If anyone on the project team needs time beyond 10 minutes, if you could let us know at the start of your presentation. We will then open up the meeting for board questions. Again, no public comment tonight, so I'm going to skip over that. Then city staff will give recommendations. Then the applicant team may respond or clarify to any public comments or city staff comments with a 5-minute time limit. Then we will have board discussion, board motion, and a vote. I do want to mention that during board discussion that the applicant may only clarify inaccurate information when recognized by myself or one of the board members, or may only speak if asked a question by the board. If everyone could please silence or turn off all cell phones or any devices that make noise at this time. With regards to our virtual meeting protocol, David will be controlling the PowerPoint presentation, which includes everything submitted by the applicant by the deadline in accordance with the submittal requirements. Applicants will need to ask David to advance to the next slide during your presentation. Applicants, staff, and board members are required to give their name whenever speaking. The video and microphones have been disabled for all attendees. Attendees will only be given the capabilities to speak when they are called on. The chat and Q&A functions have been disabled for everyone. Staff will issue meeting results, including staff comments and board motions to the applicant following the meeting. Results will also be posted on the city website shown on the screen, or should be shown on the screen. And then for additional information, there is a DRB email address and a website for further information. And I do want to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded. So with that, we will get started with item number 1, 1861 Bohicket Road, requesting approval for completed mock-up panel for the Hot Gap School Edition.
Michael Cook, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm here with Katie Seedor. She's an architect on the project.
Thank you for joining us. So if you'd like to, let's see, let me just show a couple images for context so everybody knows where this is. 1861 Bohicket Road. This is a Help Gap School addition, and this is a mock-up panel for the addition of the school. You can see here the location of the school and a little closer view. This is an image of the school itself. And you can see how far back from the road it sits. Just another image of the new construction. But if you'd like to take it over, Michael, please.
Sure. So this is showing the addition, which we are proposing obviously to match the existing exactly. Next slide.
If you could state your name for the record too, that would be great.
It's Red Iron Architects,
Thank you.
architect on this project. Next slide. Here you can see the addition from the other two angles coming off the end of the existing. Next slide. In the bottom corner is the mock-up drawing, mock-up panel drawing.
My apologies. I thought an applicant was calling me. So if you told me to advance the slide, I may have missed that.
It's okay. Next slide.
Mhm.
Image of mock-up panel. Unfortunately, the glass will not be on site until next month. So we're working with what we had, but it's to match existing. Exactly. Next slide.
You want me to just kind of flip through these?
Sure. Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay. If anybody wants me to go back, see anything, let me know.
Yeah.
David,
Yes.
can you go back to that one? May I ask a quick question since we're here,
Sure.
Madam Chair? Is that
Sure.
the intent? You're planning on cutting the brick at the head of the windows?
No, that is not the intent. Again, they had supply issues with the window, and so they weren't able to get the correct size for the mock-up. But that is not the intent that will be happening on the building.
Thank you.
Anything further to add?
No, nothing here. Any questions? Again, our intent is to make it look like it was part of the original.
Anything else? Okay. With that, are there any questions from the board?
This is Dinos, I'm sorry. Did I note, are there exposed fasteners in that flashing? Can you blow into that a little bit? This was something that I was trying to see when I was out there, but no, it doesn't look like it.
No, I don't see any.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? David, staff recommendations, please.
Okay, thank you. The panel has been rebuilt several times according to the applicants. It was deferred at the last DRB meeting due to being incomplete. The applicant started installing the exterior building materials quite a while ago before the mock-up panel was approved by the board. They were informed that they were doing so at their own risk, and the board could make a change that would result in having to remove materials or to redo work. The mock-up panel has been reworked and now includes the window that's been installed now. So staff comments number 1, the panel looks to be constructed well and the materials are good as they are matching what is existing. Staff comment number 2, the weeps are white and they should match the mortar color. I may have had that wrong on your all's copy. It should match the mortar color. Staff comment number 3, the windowsill is flat but should have a slope away from the building. And staff comment 4, staff feels the color at the windows is too light and should be darker to match the mortar color better. But with that, we do recommend approval with the conditions noted.
Thank you, David. Does the applicant team have any response or clarification to David's comments from the city?
Sorry, would you repeat that again?
Did you have any response or clarifications you'd like to make from staff comments?
No, only that we'll follow up on those comments with the.
Okay. Any board thank you. Any board discussion or a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion. This is Ben Whitener. I'd motion for approval with staff comments 1 through 4 and board comment from Dinos about not cutting above the head of the window. Not cutting the brick.
Or do not cut brick at the head of the window?
Right.
Okay, so we have a motion by Ben for approval with staff comments 1 through 4, along with board comment. Number 1, do not cut the brick at the head of the window. Is there a second?
I second it, Dinos.
Thanks, Dinos. Any further discussion? With none, I will now call roll. Aaron? Oh, Aaron's
Aaron's
recused.
recused.
Sorry,
I'm
thank you.
confused, yeah.
Andy?
Yes, in favor.
Stephanie?
Yes, in favor.
And I am also yes in favor. So thank you very much. We will now move on to item number 2, which is 1475 Folly Road, requesting preliminary approval for a new automotive repair facility.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
all. I have just a few context slides to show the location. 1475 Folly, we've seen this a couple times now. On James Island, on Folly Road, here's the location next to the church. A little closer view, this is an existing drainage ditch between the 2 properties. And then just a view looking into the site. They're going to be utilizing this existing driveway, which goes over an existing ditch. And with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant.
This is Thomas Dugan with LaCroix Engineering. We're the civil engineer for this project. I'll run through the site plan, creating a drainage plan, utility plan. Then I'll hand it over to Dana King, who represents the architect. And after that, Larry Lesser with Evergreen Design will discuss the landscape plan. So if you go to the next slide, please. This is the site plan. It's generally in line with what we presented before. There are minor modifications to address the changes to the building, but the general layout remains the same. If you go to the next slide. Here we have our grading and drainage plan. We have flumes grading into the proposed pond. And then just generally everything sheet flows from the building away to the pond, and then it is routed out to the proposed pipe network that will convey the water from the ditch under the multi-use path. If you go to the next slide, please. And here we have our utility plan. All utilities are proposed to be run underground. There's existing overhead power, but we're proposing to run power in the telecom line underground to the building. And then if you go to the next slide. Actually, this is a landscape plan. Larry, if you're on the call, I'll turn it over to you so you can discuss.
Sure, just would like to make sure everybody can hear me. Can you
Yes,
hear
I
me?
Yes.
We
Okay,
can.
great. Awesome, thank you. Well, we tried for the landscape plan to make this a pretty unique landscape. One of the focus that we have is to use a lot of plants with varying colors foliage. We have bluer foliage, we have purple foliage. We also included a number of seasonal interests. So we're trying to get as close to year-round interest as we can. We're also trying to blend the building with the landscape as much as possible. So especially for southbound traffic on Folly Road, we tried to tone down the northeast corner of the building and focus the attention towards the front. So there'll be a really nice streetscape and a really nice entry for anybody coming onto the site. The other things we tried to do were preserve trees. So there are 5 existing palm trees on site. We have preserved those. We're also trying to do sustainable design as much as possible. So 6 out of the 9 shrub species are native to, if not South Carolina, then Charleston County, as well as 2 of the tree species. That's all.
Thank you.
Next.
Did you say next slide?
Yes, if you can next slide. And Dana, if you could pick up from here, discussing the architectural features.
Let me make sure Dana is on here.
Okay.
This is Dana King.
Oh, yes.
I'm here to, okay, good. With Cortland Morgan Architects, talk about the building. Some changes we made from the last time. We're listening to the comments and we removed the decorative shutters, so there's no longer shutters on the building. The windows create a symmetrical design with the doors centered, and then the columns of the porch also mirror that symmetrical design, and that also turns the corner on the office end that faces the street as well, so that the design is symmetrical and the columns of the porch frame the windows. The lighting was also modified to work with that theme. The roof of the office area was lowered so that it more works with the function of the interior. And then the roof is relatively the same as it steps up and down throughout the building, but I believe most of the changes were focused to the office side. And I think that covers it.
If you get to the following slides, there should be some perspective views of the building. Dana, do you want to speak to the color palette for the materials, the exterior materials?
I don't think the exterior materials changed from last time. It's a beige brick throughout the entire building with the off-white accent on the porch and the columns all painted. I might need a specific question to answer anything else. I'm not 100% sure. I don't think the finish has changed between.
Dan, that was me, Thomas. I was just looking at the slides. I wasn't sure if you could see them since you're calling in.
No, I'm sorry. I'm on my phone.
Okay. And I believe that's all we have. So if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board? With none and no public comments, David, if you could go through staff comments, please.
Sure, thank you. I have some staff observations. Staff comments were addressed since the last meeting. The roof overhangs were increased very slightly. The light fixture locations adjusted so no longer cramped. And the landscape on the north facade of the building has been expanded and improved. It's now screening or softening this long, stark facade facing the church. The north facade did not change since the last submittal, so the added landscape to screen this facade is an improvement. The applicants are providing both shrubs and ornamental trees along this north facade, which is good and acceptable. The applicants are showing the required multi-use path along Folly Road, but it appears to be in conflict with the existing drainage ditch. The building architecture was simplified as the board asked, but if the board could please comment on if their directives were met or not. Staff comment number 1, confirm the location of the multi-use path so that it does not conflict with the existing drainage ditch. Adjust the site plan and landscape plan accordingly. Staff comment number 2, regarding the landscape bed along the north facade of the building, staff suggests adding 3 to 4 palms in the mix to continue the theme of the existing palms that are being saved near the front drive entrance. Number 3, introduce another tree species to the 2 of the 5 ornamental trees that are proposed on the north side of the building for a little more variety in shape and texture. The red buckeye is a nice choice for this side of the building, but study if Charleston gets too hot for these, if not in part shade. Number 4, facing the south elevation, the light fixture to the far left is still up against the brick band and should also be moved away a little to give it more room. But with that, staff does recommend preliminary approval.
Thank you, David. Does the applicant team have anything they'd like to respond or clarify from staff comments?
I'd just like to clarify that this is Thomas Dugan with LaCroix Engineering. I'd like to clarify about the comment regarding the drainage ditch. We're proposing to pipe that ditch, so we'll make sure that that pipe is designed to carry the same amount of water that the ditch currently is. So we'll make sure that it has the same capacity as that ditch, so that we can kind of keep that front looking clean. And just, I think everything will look a lot cleaner if that drainage goes under the sidewalk. So that's our plan there.
Okay, thank you. Any board discussion or a motion?
I had a couple oh, go ahead, Dinos.
No, Ben, go ahead, buddy. That's fine.
I had a couple of comments. The first, doesn't the BAR or the DRB require some kind of screening around mechanical units? Or is that?
Yes.
So that would be one comment on the north facade. It looks like there's a condensing unit that's right there at the front that's not screened. Maybe you could screen that and the electrical panel behind something for some grown vegetation. It looks like the renderings just show it to match the color of the building. Second question is the size of the porch. I think I commented on that last time, but it really seems like if you look at the floor plan, it looks like they've extended the porch where the main door is. I'd like to see the porch that width. So, and I don't know why. I'm sure you extended that so you could have the required pool size space for handicap clearance or something, because the porch looks pretty narrow. I would suggest making that porch that wide. And also, when doing that, that south elevation, David, if you go to the south elevation, so right there where you kick and you can see it if you look at the east elevation versus the south, where you've kind of canted or started sloping the porch 7 or 8 feet back. I'm wondering why we couldn't just keep it simple, keep the same slope as you have. You got the ridge in the middle of the office building, so I would just mirror what you have on the north side, and and you could make the porch roof less of a slope. I mean, it doesn't have to be a 4 and 12, but it just seems if you're looking at that east elevation, which is the main facade, I don't understand why you'd have to change roof slopes a third of the way through the building. You see what I'm saying, Dinos?
Yes, I see exactly what you're saying. And that's a great question. Madam Chair, if we may ask the applicant.
Of course.
This is Dana King with the architect. The change in roof slope to the porch section is 5 foot deep, and it's 5 foot deep all the way, all the way around that L-shape section. And the slope above the porch is, I believe it's 4 and 12, and then the slope of the roof, it's the main roof, is 6 and 12. And that was just to give a differentiation between the roof that covered the porch versus the roof that covered the building. And the difference in the two is where you get that connection at that third point. It can change, but what will happen if you have it all at the same slope is that your ridge line will no longer be in the center of the building. The ridge line will push to the front, and it may look a little off center with the ridge line not lining up with the window in the center.
The ridge line wouldn't be in the center of the building?
The ridge line would not be in the center of the enclosed part of the building. So right now, and this is what happens when you change a roof slope over if you pull a porch away from the front face of the building, and you don't have a porch on the back side of the building, you have if you slope that entire space, your ridge line will be in the center of the roof line and not in the center of the enclosed portion.
Dana, I think that, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, but I think what Ben and I have a number of questions, but your ridge line currently is centered on the conditioned space. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it looks like about halfway down on the left-hand side, you're breaking the slope from a 6 and 12 to a 4 and 12. And so basically, there's an equal distance from that ridge line, there's an equal distance between both ends of the building regarding the enclosed space, correct?
Correct.
So tell me again, why are you breaking the slope? I mean, if you're going to end up at the same place, and Ben, I think this is, you and I are asking the same question here. Are you saying that
Okay, if you want to make the roof all 6 and 12 and have it cover the porch at 6 and 12, then
no, I don't think it has to cover the. I don't think it has to cover the porch at 6 and 12. I think you can have a different porch roof slope.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, and I know, and thank you, Dana. I will go back to board discussion, Madam Chair. If the porch, this was the item that we discussed at the last presentation, is that we have an industrial language of the building in the high bay portion. And then we are changing what appears to be more of a residential language and the scale of the fenestration and even the manner in which the roof line and the porch are working. And I'm really struggling with this change of architectural language and design language between the two. There's got to be simpler way. And I don't know what the purpose of the porch on the front of the building is, other than aesthetic applique. And I know that from a DRB standpoint, we have really pushed back hard on aesthetic appliques. And I'm struggling with the way that the front one-story portion is still reconciling with the rest of the industrial. I think I was fairly open about that at the last conversation that we had on this building. And I other than the clear story, the fake clear story being removed, I'm still at the same position with regards to how the porch actually works. And I understand a canopy at the front door, but beyond that, I think it would clean it up significantly if that porch were removed, personally.
I agree. I think they have the porch, Dino's, for they wanted to have a residential feel. Remember, that was
Mhm.
the idea of the
Yeah.
design originally. But I mean, if it's just a 5-foot wide porch, nobody's going to use it,
Yeah,
especially
I'm
at
with
the
you.
main street facade.
Yep, I completely agree. I just, yeah, I think it's the same purpose that the clear story was serving. And I just, architecturally, I think that this area is an predominantly industrial facade along this side of Folly Road. And it would be
Right.
nice to be able to provide some strength in architecture along this area.
Madam Chair, can I weigh in and just ask a question of Ben and Dino's with regards to
course.
it? So I can see, and understand you guys, you think basically saying having that front porch awning overhang may not be necessary because it's an industrial portion, behind the building is more industrial. So as I look at this as a consumer, one of the things I like, and maybe with that roof pitch, they don't have it right, is you have some sort of shelter, i.e. if it's raining, and maybe there's some other way they can do it. If you're raining and you're walking up there, or if you're sitting there waiting, if they plan on using the front porch as functional, so you can actually sit outdoors and have something to protect yourself. So if their idea long-term is more of a functional use, I kind of like that cover.
Mhm.
But if it's just more for aesthetic and they don't plan on doing anything with it, then I would agree. But I guess it all depends on kind of the use. And speaking of myself going there, I would like to have the option to be able to walk under something, be protected from the elements of the outdoor weather, or if I'm sitting out there waiting for my vehicle to be fixed.
Yeah, and that's a great comment, and Stephanie, and I think that what Ben was aiming toward was that because the application, I think according to the plan, it appears that the porch over at the entry has been extended. I don't see it necessarily on the elevations, but it appears that the porch has been extended, and I'm just guessing by about a foot or two beyond the edge line of the 5-foot dimension on the porch. And if you focus at that entry portal, at that entry point with a canopy that's more in line with the rest of the architecture, I think it would be much more successful. I don't disagree that some type of cover would be a nice asset. I think I'm just struggling with how it's being done right now. And Ben, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, I agree with you, Dinos. I mean, that porch is just the porch bothers me on the elevation. And I mentioned that the last time, the column layout, they're all different. It's not really symmetrical about much of anything. Yeah, I'd be fine with doing just a horizontal canopy right there, give that industrial feel. You could easily have a canopy that goes over the side lights and the door, the main door.
Yeah. When I look at the previous plan on the south elevation, well, excuse me, is yes, the previous plan on the south elevation. One of the comments that we made that I thought was a great start was well, but we weren't expressing the ceiling height. I'm sorry. I can remember now the conversation that went on beyond that. Yeah, I'm just struggling with the way that the porch is working. I'm struggling with the break in the roof. I'm struggling with just the overall division of the windows that changes again from an industrial to the rear to the residential in the front. I agree that the building does need covered canopy as far as the entryway is concerned. I just don't
And I know
believe the way it's done is appropriate.
Dinos and Ben, I mean, taking into consideration what Stephanie commented, is there a way to solve it architecturally with a canopy that wraps the building but eliminates the columns and more of the porch feel? Or are you thinking that the canopy would just be on the south facade and not wrap to the frontage as well?
I would just keep it on the south facade myself. I mean,
I would agree.
I don't think people are going to be wanting to sit out there. They're not going to sit out there anyway.
Mm-mm. I completely agree. I think that there's a strong, we talked about this last time. The gable is not a weak geometry, and repeating the gable again on the smaller one-story section again would be stronger geometry on that east elevation than trying to break it with the porch. If I'm not mistaken, the last time we talked, we were leaning, well, I was leaning toward the original design until I learned that really that's just going to end up being attic space up there, and that the structure would not be exposed, or the ceiling height we would not be taking advantage of any ceiling height. So I understand why they lowered it now and created a lower ceiling height, which eliminates a lot of cubics. I just still think, like Ben was saying, that a different design of a canopy at the entry, not wrapping the building and just maintaining the geometry of the simple gable is probably a much stronger solution, and get rid of the residential elements that are adorning this industrial building and make it truly what it is as an industrial structure. I think it would be a stronger design solution in the end.
Yeah, even down to the lighting next to the main entry door.
Yeah.
You know, keep it simple. But you don't need the little gas lantern looking lights at the main entrance.
Any other comments or a motion?
This is Andy. I'd kind of just reiterate what Dinos and everybody has said. I just think that the building needs to simplify and be true to contextually where it needs to be. I think Ben and Dinos have been right on with that. I think for the landscape, I truly do think the landscape should follow that and simplify and be contextual also. The palms are a good start for the area. I would really seek to really get this to be a very simple native landscape that complements the building. I was hoping for some more evolution in the building that I'm just not seeing from conceptual to preliminary. And yeah, I think there's a native grass mix that's specified. I think that we would like to see both. I don't want to speak for Erin, but I think knowing her proclivities on this, we would want to see the makeup of that mix before we would be comfortable with approving it, because those mixes can be very varied, and some of them more successful than others.
Yes, I agree, Andy. This is Erin.
Sarah, I didn't realize you'd come on. I apologize.
Yeah.
Well, I would be willing to make a motion of deferral with a restudy of the, but let me back up for a moment. I would be willing to make a motion for deferral, but before I get into the specific motion, I want to say that there are some strong architectural elements in the building, as we talked about last time. I mean, the sense of the rhythm that we're dealing with regards to the garage door openings, the manner in which they work within the context of the undulating up and down roof. I think that's a very successful evolution as far as the design is concerned. Where it stops is right at that front, and that's where we talked about scale of fenestration and size. So with that being said, I would move for deferral with a restudy of the front one-story section to eliminate the wraparound porch, but provide a weather canopy at the front entrance, and to embrace the industrial elements that have already begun with regards to the lines that have been created with the garage door openings, and translate
Sorry, Dina,
that.
slow down. I don't mean to
know.
interrupt you.
No, I know.
I have deferral with restudy of the front one-story section to eliminate the wraparound porch and provide an all-weather canopy.
An all-weather canopy at the entry. With fenestration that is more in keeping
Sorry, say that again.
with the fenestration and the front section that is more in keeping with the lines that have been established in the garage section of the building.
Let me reread what I have before you continue going, because I think I may have missed a part still.
That's all right.
Deferral with restudy of the front one-story section to eliminate the wraparound porch and provide an all-weather canopy at the entry. And then I think I lost a sentence, maybe, that is in keeping with the lines that have been established in the garage section of the building.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
That works pretty good. The one thing I didn't say is I wanted to make sure staff comments. I did want to move for inclusion of staff comments 1. It sounds like from Aaron and Andy 2, 3, and 4, with what Ben and I have been talking about.
Do we need to just add in a comment about what Ben mentioned about screening of?
Yes, please. The screening of the mechanical units and the electrical components on the side of the building.
I know that we, on a couple of these auto-oriented buildings, we've also asked for penetrations and venting to be shown.
Yes. Thank you, Andy. That's exactly right.
Good idea.
Because we're at preliminary right now, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, then yeah, I agree.
Stephanie, are you comfortable with the way that we're addressing the front entry weather canopy?
Dinas, if you don't mind, let me get a second before we
Okay.
go into discussion, if that's okay. Does that
Yes,
have all
ma'am.
your comments included?
I think so, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'll second,
So let me
Madam Chair.
reread it back, make sure I have it, and then Ben, I'll take your second.
Okay.
So motion for deferral with restudy of front one-story section to eliminate the wraparound porch and provide an all-weather canopy at the entry. That is more in keeping with the lines that have been established in the garage section of the building. 2, screen the mechanical and electrical components. And 3, show all roof penetrations. Ben, did I hear your second?
Second.
Okay, and then now we are in further discussion. Sorry to interrupt.
Erica, that's
so we
all
get us back on
right.
track.
Just one, did you make the comment on accepting staff comments 1 through 4?
Sorry, thank you. And also staff comments 1 through 4. Thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
Eunice.
And I just wanted to make sure that that motion satisfied Stephanie's concerns.
Yeah, I was gonna say it does. I would be willing to just kind of see what they come up with and next go around. I still do support some sort of awning wrapped around, but I'm going to see, kind of what it looks like without it. You guys are the architectural experts, so I would be curious to see, because there are people who do sit outdoors, and I'm one of them.
Yes, ma'am.
And I agree. I think
Eunice?
I agree with it's not in keeping right now with the architectural style of the building. Is there a solution that would be in congruence with what is shown in the remainder of the building?
And I would think,
Eunice?
in the discussion, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm
Go ahead,
sorry,
Stephanie.
Go ahead.
No, I was just wondering too, in terms of what they're trying to capture, because we talk about, when we first, I think, talked with them, one of the things I think we also talked about is kind of across the street, the residential character and all those things. So I think that's why they've kind of got caught up in that. But also, I can't remember, and maybe you all, I'm trying to rack my brain and wondering the purpose of their design for the front office is if they're trying to somehow make it, because it's next to a church, and I think the other side may be the some sort of public safety or fire department. So I'm wondering if they're trying to keep it a very, what's the term I'm looking for, in terms of transition, so it doesn't look so industrial next to a church. So so it has kind of that smooth feel because of where they are located. So it doesn't look so industrial if you're driving down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's what you guys are trying to capture with the recommendation for them to kind of keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think, and I agree, Stephanie, but I personally think that front piece, if they would study, I wish, I almost like the original height. I think Dinos had mentioned that earlier, where it matches that the lower break, the lower roof. If you had that lower roof come to the street side, almost like an AB pattern in the elevation, I think that would be a great solution. And maybe it's too high since you're not using that space, but that would let you pick up the regulating lines of the garage doors. Maybe you could use that as a storefront rather than a punched opening. To just trying to give ideas of what I think could potentially help that front building.
Yeah. I think you've got a great opportunity on that north elevation too, to really restudy the way that fenestration is working within that wall and how it could really contribute to. But anyway, I think that.
But let me clarify on your comment to make sure they are clear in the direction.
That's not a motion. I'm not.
No.
Motion.
I agree with, that I liked the matching roof lines, but we do not want that if it's going to be dead space or attic space that's not conditioned. Correct. Okay. Just wanted to point that clarification out. Any other discussion?
I've got one more comment that doesn't affect the motion, but I did just want to point out to the applicant that I will be doing a signage review after this package. And I'm noticing that they have the name of the business on the north facade. And per the ordinance, you're only permitted to have facade signs on the side that faces a main street or where you have entrances. So unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to have that sign on the north facade.
Thanks, David. Any other further discussion?
This is Andy. I just wanted to make sure, I don't know that we got it into the motion, but I just wanted to make sure that we got that we would like to see the the specifications on the native grass mix that's being included. If Dinos doesn't mind.
By all means, no, not at all.
Is there, we'll now call roll, assuming, is there any other further discussion? Okay.
I'm good.
Aaron,
Yes, in favor.
Andy,
Yes, in favor of the motion.
Stephanie?
Yes, in favor.
I am also yes in favor. Thank you very much. We will move on to item number 3, which is the approval of the minutes from the October 18, 2021 meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Andy had the motion. Second, is there a second?
I
Dinos?
gladly will second Dino's.
Thanks, Dinos. I will now call roll. Aaron,
Yes, in favor.
Stephanie,
Yes, in favor.
Ben,
Yes, in favor.
and I am also yes in favor. And we are through.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Thank
Same
you.
to you all, and I'll
Good
see
week.
you at our Christmas party.
Look,
Yeah.
look forward to it.
Yes.
Everybody.
See
Thank
you
you.
guys.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.